Recording. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Okay. Oh, let me add in one more person. Hey, Ashley. Oh, I think she's still connecting to audio. Okay. I will go ahead and jump in. And so if anybody has any questions too, just feel free to either unmute yourself, but there will be kind of time for some questions at the end. But thank you guys so much for hopping on our call this morning and being interested in potentially serving on a Vision Council for this upcoming grant process at United Way of Horry County. I really appreciate you all being here today and wanting to learn more. This is really just going to be like a basic overview of the grant process and of kind of what we need our volunteers to do. And then once you choose, if you choose to actually serve on a Vision Council, there's like a specific training for that I'll send you all later. But for now, I will go ahead and just kind of start going through. So you'll be working with me. I know that you all know me. Melissa, I don't think you know me, but my name is Katie Wise. I'm the Director of Community Impact here at United Way of Horry County. And so I am over this grant process and also oversee all of our internal programs and initiatives here at United Way. So you'll be working directly with me throughout this whole process. So this is my contact information, my email, and my work phone number. So if there's any questions that you have about this process or about being a volunteer or anything like that, I'm always here to answer any questions. But first things first, I really just wanted to say thank you all so much for your interest in potentially serving on a Vision Council. We genuinely couldn't do what we do without all of our amazing volunteers. You all are the ones that help us with these decisions and that just help United Way just be as successful as we are. And so we really couldn't do what we do without all of you as our volunteers. So we just appreciate everything. So here's our agenda. I'm going to kind of do like a brief overview of our history, an overview of our community game plan, overview of like the application and the expectations, and then overview of kind of what the process looks like. And so who we are, as you all know, I think we had it all over Facebook and some of you even attended. We had our 50th anniversary event back in May. So we've been in Horry County now since 1973. We are led by a volunteer board of directors who live and work in this community. Our vision is we envision an equitable community where opportunity is not limited and every member reaches their full potential. And then our mission statement is we achieve our vision by uniting people, ideas, and resources to advance the common good in Horry County. And so this is what we were doing before. So this is kind of like a history of who we were. And so United Way of Horry County was operating as what we call a community chest model. And so what that means is we would raise money in our annual campaign and our employee campaigns. And then all of the money that we raised from that, we would grant back out into the community to other nonprofit agencies that fell under education, health, and financial stability. We didn't have like specific goals or anything like that underneath each one. The agency just had to kind of fall under these specific pillars. And so we didn't really have any internal programs. We just all were granting everything out to the agencies. And so the problem with that, it was really hard to kind of measure the true impact that we were making in the community. And not only, we also had to really kind of start looking at diversifying our funding as well. So we still have our campaign, but we just knew that we wanted to really become focused in what we were doing and really kind of have specific issues that we were focused on underneath each pillar. And so that is where we really started going through this transition to eventually get to our community game plan. And so back in 2021, we had a task force to help lead United Way through this transition. We held community conversations. We conducted a big community needs assessment to really determine what the biggest needs were in the areas that we were focused on. So we broke up the task force into 4 vision councils: health, education, self-sufficiency, and basic needs. And from there, we created our community needs assessment summary, and the vision councils identified gaps in our community, and we determined our bold community goals and strategies moving forward. And so last year in 2023 was the first year that we had our community game plan out there. And that was the first application that was open with our community game plan as a part of it. And so why do we use volunteer reviewers for our grants? And so we have always used volunteer reviewers for our grants. Ever since our inception is just kind of a thing across the United Way board. We always use our community members, donors, board members in the community that really offer a wide variety of perspectives and experiences that can inform the grant making process. And it also makes the granting process more inclusive, transparent, fair, and as free from influence and bias as possible. So who are the reviewers? Vision Council volunteers, you all help determine how undesignated United Way annual campaign donations will be distributed to local agencies. And so all applications will be read and scored by our 5 vision councils. And so we ask that volunteers just choose one to serve on. You can choose more than one, but that would just be a lot on the volunteer to be able to read all of those applications. And so we have health, education, self-sufficiency, basic needs, and finance. And with finance, we ask that you have experience like in the financial field, because they are really the ones looking at the audits, the budgets, the balance sheets, the profit and loss statements, all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of people on our Finance Vision Council either work at a bank, or they're a CPA, or they're an accountant, or or they just have experience kind of reviewing financials on grants. And so that's kind of what that is. And I'll kind of get into a little bit more about what we're focused on in our health, education, self-sufficiency, and basic needs. But those are the 5 that volunteers are able to choose from to serve on. Like I said, they're comprised of community members, our donors, board members, and issue area experts too, kind of in these specific fields that have helped us put together our community game plan, or if they're new, kind of coming into this process. So what's in it for you as a volunteer? You really get to learn about the grant making process. You get to gain a better understanding of who we are at United Way of Horry County and what we do. And you get to learn about all of the different innovative programs and best practices across Horry County. It really is the best way to see the different programs that are out there, what they're doing, how they're filling the gaps in the community. And it also allows you to have a voice in the process. And so these are our 4 focus areas with our specific bold goals underneath. And so under health, our 2 bold goals are: we want to decrease the number of suicide ideations and attempts, and we want to decrease the number of drug-related overdose deaths. And so really focused on mental health and behavioral health in health. And under education, we have 2 bold goals under here as well. We want to increase the number of children who meet developmental milestones and enter kindergarten ready. And so really focused on kind of that 0 to 5, their parents and caregivers, and then also increasing access to equitable learning opportunities and high quality childcare for children and youth. For self-sufficiency, we want to increase the number of Horry County residents meeting self-sufficiency standards. And when we say self-sufficiency, we mean that people are making enough money for their family to not be on any public or private assistance. And for basic needs, really, we don't have like a specific bold goal under here. We just envision a future where everyone has access to food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, basic materials, transportation, and a sense of security. And so in our community game plan, and I'll send you all this too as well, kind of after our call. But once you kind of read through our community game plan, you'll see obviously our bold goal page, but then also our strategies on how we plan to address these bold goals. And so we have 4 different strategies under each bold goal. what we're going to fund, what we're going to advocate for, how we're going to collaborate with other stakeholders, and what we want to educate the community on. And so what we're focused on here specifically is what we're going to fund. And so in health, we want to fund programs that improve outcomes and access to behavioral health services for children, youth, and adults, and programs that raise awareness of an intervention in unhealthy behaviors. For education, this is for the first bold goal for the increasing children meeting developmental milestones and kindergarten ready. We want to fund programs that improve academic and developmental milestones for children from birth through age 5, and programs that increase involvement of families, caregivers in the community, and the success of children from birth through age 5. For our second bold goal under education, we want to fund programs that improve access to equitable learning opportunities and childcare for children and youth, programs that reduce the summer learning loss and chronic absenteeism, programs that improve basic academic skills and children performing below grade level, and programs that offer diverse and flexible educational opportunities for a variety of learners. So this one's a little bit more, it's not as specific with just the 0 to 5. This can really kind of range from 0 to 12th grade. So kind of like 0 to 18 here. For self-sufficiency, we want to fund financial literacy programs that work with adults and children to establish self-sufficiency, support services that provide education, counseling, coaching, case management, and/or legal services linked to self-sufficiency, and services that support individuals along a path to family-sustaining wages through employment. And then for basic needs, we want to fund programs that provide emergency assistance for food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, basic materials, and transportation, and opportunities that restore hope and stability to clients as they move from emergency need to self-sufficiency. And so, so what we're doing this year is we are implementing the results-based accountability model. And what that means is it's an outcome measurement framework. And so we ask 3 questions on our application. How much are we doing? How well are we doing it? And is anyone better off because of it? And so something that's different this year is in the past, whenever an agency would apply to us, they would give us, what are the outcomes that you all are measuring? And so they would create their own outcomes, they'd create their own goals. And so the difference this year is that we are implementing shared performance measures. And so agencies will select from a catalog, of an outcomes menu of United Way shared performance measures and outcomes. And this is kind of what it looks like. And so this is just an example. We have measurable objectives as well under our in our community game plan for each of the goals. And I'll kind of go into that a little bit more in the specific trainings that I do for each one. But this is just an example to show you how we have, this is our measurable objective number 1 under education. And so what the agency, if they're applying under education, under the specific measurable bold goal, a measurable objective, they will have to choose 1 performance measure from each box. And so the good thing about having shared performance measures is if we're all measuring kind of like the same thing, like using that same common language, it's going to be a lot easier to really tell like our shared story, like what's our shared impact with each other. And and this way too, we can really kind of see like across like the nonprofit sector, kind of like what are we measuring, kind of what's the impact that we're making on these specific issues. And so instead of creating their own outcomes, they're just having to choose the outcome and the objective that they're going to measure under each of these questions. Like I said, I kind of go into this a little bit deeper in our specific training. So I'm not going to harp on this for too long, but that's kind of what it looks like. And we came up with these from our initial task force and vision councils back when we were creating our community game plan. We did get the input from the agencies that were currently funding in these specific areas to see, are these things that you can measure? Are there some things on here that are like, there's no way anybody in this county or ever will be able to measure the specific thing. And so we have specifically outcomes menus for all 4 of our pillars that outline our measurable objectives. So once you choose kind of which vision council that you would like to serve on, you'll be able to kind of see those specific measures for that specific bold goal. So a little bit about the application. And so the application's opened on May 22nd. We do 1-year grants. And so this grant will be from January 24 to December 24. And so on June 2nd, all the agencies needed to be in the system. They needed to have requested access to the full application. So everybody's in there right now. We have 28 agencies that are applying for funding. And they all had to kind of align with the specific pillar that they were going to be addressing. And so they're all broken up into their 4 pillars already. And so basic needs is always our largest pillar. So just kind of throwing that out there. That's where the majority of agencies are always applying under. And then so the applications close on June 30th at midnight. So that's the deadline for them to get their application in. And so this is kind of what the process looks like. And so the applications close June 30th. And then that first week of July, I will be sending the volunteers, I will be assigning the volunteers to the applications. And so we use a system called EC Impact. And that's where all the agencies are filling out their grants. That's where the volunteers will review the applications and do their scoring. So we have 2 weighted scorecards. We have a scorecard for the application, and then we also have a scorecard for the financial piece. And so obviously, like you all, if you choose either health, education, self-sufficiency, or basic needs, you'll use that application scorecard, and then our finance vision council will use the finance one. So all of that will be happening in EC Impact. And so that first week of July is when I will assign all the applications that you all need to review in that system. And then kind of towards the end of July, beginning of August, the vision councils will meet kind of separately in our own vision council to discuss the applications that were reviewed and scored. And so we ask that you have the applications that you're assigned reviewed and scored by that point. And so that way we can have our initial review meeting. We can talk about what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses of the application, what are the questions that we have for them, because then throughout August, we will be conducting site visits with these agencies. And so with me, so each of our vision councils have a chair. They have a chairperson in each council. And so we ask that it'll be me, our vision council chair for that specific vision council, and then we'll kind of break up the site visits amongst the vision council members, because we know that not everybody is going to be able to make every single site visit, but we also don't want to overwhelm the agency as well with having like 20 people there in front of them interviewing them. And so the vision councils will conduct 1-hour site visits, in-person site visits for the applicant agencies that have been reviewed. And that's where you all will have the opportunity to ask questions about your agency, the program, and or application. And then in September, the vision councils will meet again. We'll come together in person to make our final funding recommendations to be brought to our board of directors meeting in September. And so with those scores, the agencies are then scored from, both scores are combined, and also too, after the site visit, you are able to kind of go back in and update your score if need be. And so then that way we'll be able to, like if you kind of scored them a little bit low because we had a lot of questions, you can go back in and do that as well. And then we'll have like a touch base meeting after the site visit. So then that way the whole vision council can kind of hear kind of our thoughts, or maybe even just send out an email to them as well. But there will be an opportunity for kind of changing that score. But then we'll get together, we'll combine the scores for each agency, and then we'll have them ranked based on their score. And so based on that ranking, it's kind of how we will use that to determine our funding recommendations to take to our board of directors. And so it's really you all that are making the funding recommendations, but you have the scores, you have the site visits, and you have each other to really kind of determine what the funding will look like. And so and then we'll take all those recommendations to our board of directors in September, who have the final kind of say on they'll approve it. Yes, we're good to go. And they normally just kind of go with whatever the Vision Council kind of presents to the board. And so overall expectations of the reviewers, we ask that you, if you do sign up and commit to serve on a Vision Council, that you attend the majority, if not all of the scheduled meetings outlined in the timeline. And we don't have specific dates yet, just kind of gave like a date range, just depending on kind of like everybody's availability and all that kind of good stuff. But we ask that you keep the applications and the scores confidential. This isn't public information until the grants are actually awarded. We ask that you review the application and score each one using the scorecard. And like I said, that'll all be done in EC Impact. And so you will be assigned all of the applications under that respective pillar that you're serving on a Vision Council for. And so, for example, if there are 7 agencies that applied under education and you are on the Education Vision Council, you will review all 7 of them. So everybody, so if there's 10 Vision Council volunteers, all 10 of them will be reviewing all 7 of those applications. And we also ask that you report any conflict of interest to United Way and don't score for the proposals in which you have a conflict. And so if you serve on a board with any of these agencies, if you volunteer at any of these agencies, if you know somebody that's received services from these agencies, anything like that, we do consider that to be in conflict, and we ask that you don't score those just to keep any bias completely out of the process. So what we'll be looking for, we ask agencies to align with at least one bold community goal outlined in the community game plan. So see their alignment, see how they kind of explain their alignment with the bold goal and how they're currently addressing it. Do they identify the need that they're addressing? How do they involve their volunteers? What's the fiscal strength of the organization? What are the outcomes that they're going to be measuring? And do they have like a solid outcome measurement system in place? What is the scale and scope of their program? And also their capacity and infrastructure for long-term sustainability. So next steps, so like I said, we do use EC Impact, and I kind of go into that a little bit deeper, kind of once you choose a specific bold goal, specific Vision Council that you want to serve on. And then this is the link that if you want to sign up for a specific Vision Council, you can. And then that way it's just kind of easier. That way you can kind of see, you can choose from the specific bold goal, and you can also let me know if you have a conflict with any of the agencies through this link as well. But I kind of want to stop here to see if anybody had any initial questions about anything. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I see Stacy trying to unmute.
While she's trying, I'm going to ask my question.
Sure.
So first, you are going to send us like that link so that we can get that. Okay. And then at that time when we're signing up, will we know who the agencies are so that we can provide you then at that time about the conflicts and things like that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so I will go ahead and send, since I already know kind of like who's in which category, I'll go ahead and send you all kind of who's in which agencies and who's applied, who's currently like our applicant agencies. So I'll send you that. I'll send you our community game plan. I'll send you the shared performance measures as well too. And then that way you all can kind of have a better understanding of kind of what we're asking the agencies to do. I'll send you all that information that you'll need for that.
And one last question. Will most of the meetings, not the site visits, be held online with Teams then?
Yes. And
or
so
Zoom or whatever it is, sorry.
Yes, the first initial review meeting will be virtual, just because it's easier to kind of do it that way. And then once we kind of have the initial review meeting, the site visits will be in person. And then we do have that, we'll have one meeting where we kind of determine our funding recommendations in September before our board meeting. We'll have one meeting then, and that will be in person, just because that's easier to kind of have those conversations, looking at the kind of scoring and all of that for the agencies. So 2 in-person meetings and then 1 virtual meeting. So the first meeting is virtual and then the rest will be in person. The site visits are normally about an hour. And the funding recommendation meeting was about 2 hours, just kind of depending on how many agencies are in there, but we try to allot at least 2 hours just to make sure that we have enough room in there. And each application should take about, they're not as long as they were last year, I will say. The applications were longer last year. But to really kind of like go through, we kind of asked that you kind of like go through the application one time and like really kind of read it and understand it, and then kind of go back through and start scoring after that. So it'll probably take about, I'd probably say like about like an hour like per application to like fully go through, like fully score it, and all that kind of stuff. And so, but they're really not too bad. The system is really easy to use. Like I said, I kind of go into that, kind of show kind of how to use the system in my other specific trainings as well. And so once you choose like which kind of vision council you want to serve on, there's about like a short kind of 30-minute specific training specifically on like education, health, just like more specifically kind of like what we're looking for in each of those pillars, just to review kind of on your own time. And then I'll send this back out. I have the PowerPoints for the other ones that I can send out too. I'll send you all the information that you all will need. Stacy, are you unmuted?
Hi, I figured it out. Hi, Becky. Is there any particular council that you need help on more than others?
Yes, and so I think like our health and basic needs right now are probably our biggest needs. But like I said, the basic needs has more applications in there. So it just really kind of depends on, I don't know. I think there's about, I don't have the list in front of me right now. There's about 10 or 11 agencies under that one. Just because that's where the majority of people fall. The shortest one I will say is self-sufficiency. There aren't as many agencies in self-sufficiency. There's about 4 agencies under there, but health and basic needs are where our biggest needs are right now. But
Okay.
we could use volunteers in any of them. And so if you feel really strongly about education or health or any of the other ones, feel free to kind of be kind of wherever you want.
Okay. And we can chat about, I guess, which nonprofit is applied under each one. Because of LGS, I feel like I have a lot of conflicts. So that might be easier for me to look at who the nonprofits are to figure out the best place for me to go with the least amount of bias, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And so like for you all, like I know you specifically, Stacy, for example, you used to work at SOS Care, you know, they've applied under health. And so even if you chose to be like serve on the Health Vision Council, you just wouldn't review the health, you wouldn't review the SOS and have nothing to do with them. And so but we can kind of look at the other ones to see, is there one that you don't have any conflict with at all? And a lot of times, last year, it was funny, we had a lot of volunteers like, oh, we don't have any conflicts, and they're rating it. It's like, oh, maybe I do have a conflict with them. And so it just all kind of depends. But yeah, I'll send you all the list of kind of who's applied under which pillar so far. And then that way we can kind of determine from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have to go unmute.
Do we have any other questions? And two, kind of as like you're kind of going through everything, that I'll send you kind of like the initial like overview of stuff, and then the link to kind of sign up for which specific vision council you want to serve on. And then once you sign up for that specific one, I'll send you that specific training and those specific kind of shared outcomes menus for that particular vision council. But I'll go ahead and send the PowerPoint for this, the agencies that have applied so far, and our community game plan, as well as the timeline that I just kind of laid out in here too, to kind of see. And if there's any conflict with any of the dates that are on there, like I said, I just kind of had some date ranges right now. And those could vary just based on availability of the Vision Council. I'm going to try to put those dates on the calendar in the beginning of July, like as soon as the applications close. And then that way we kind of know, okay, by July 27th, I need to have my applications reviewed and scored and ready to go. Oh, thank you for sending me your email, because I did not have your email before. And so I will copy that. Does anybody else have any other questions? And obviously, if you have any other questions, always feel free to call me, email me, all that kind of stuff.
Sorry, just one more quick question. Are you looking for more volunteers, and do you want me to share this with other people that I know that are active in volunteering in the community?
Yeah, we're always looking for volunteers. And ultimately we're looking for volunteers that will be able to kind of continue serving on these fishing councils, kind of like as we move forward throughout the years. And I know it can be definitely a time commitment for some people. And so if you have any volunteers, and even any volunteers that maybe even have like a background in these specific areas too. So like, for example, on our Health Vision Council, we have some mental health counselors that are on there, and education, we have some early education folks that work at Georgetown Technical College that are kind of working that department. I have like a retired principal on there. So even if you know of anybody that may have a specific background in any of these areas, that'd be
So
great.
you got
too.
Alyssa?
You don't have to. Yes,
Okay.
Alyssa is amazing. She is
From the
my
Conway. Yeah, I knew you guys did that one together. So perfect.
Yes. She's
Okay.
in my she's my education chairperson for my Vision Council. Alyssa, love her.
I know you probably covered LGS, but I was thinking multiplying good and change makers. I don't know if you've already talked to Dan and gotten it out that way, or Sam.
Yeah, and so Sam actually signed up to be on this today, and so I think she wants to be involved definitely.
Perfect.
And so I think she just probably had a conflict this morning with this meeting, so I'm going to send her this information too.
Perfect.
So I reached out to LGS, my class, my Conway leadership class. Hey Katie, that's where Katie came from. And I knew I could always rely on you all, my LGS people, my Conway leadership people. But yeah, but if there's anybody else that that may be interested in volunteering, it really is the coolest way to see all of the nonprofit agencies, like a lot of the nonprofit agencies in Horry County, and the work that they're doing, and the way that we help them, and the way that we partner with them. And so it's a really cool process. It looks like a lot, but it's worth it. I think, Ashley, I saw where you unmuted. Did you have a question? If you're talking, we can't hear you.
I unmuted from the thing, but not from my phone.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. So I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say hi.
Hi.
But also thanks for reaching out. And I'm really just excited about this. I've been kind of looking for a way to get back into helping the community and stuff. I've been kind of missing the whole LGS community feel. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for your interest in it too. And it's definitely a different kind of volunteer opportunity. But it's a really, really cool one. And people that have volunteered on our Vision Councils in the past, they're kind of ones that just kind of stay with it forever. And we definitely did change up the process because before it used to just be you would review the applications, the agency would come and present to you on like a panel of volunteers, and then the agency would leave, and then you would make those funding decisions right then and there. So we've added definitely an extra layer of thoroughness by having the scorecard and by kind of meeting multiple times about it. So it's definitely a lot. I know it can be a lot for the summer because I know a lot of people are kind of in and out of vacation and kind of getting ready to go back to school. But so we just appreciate you all and your interest in volunteering. And I really look forward to working with all of you if you do decide that you want to commit to a Vision Council. But yes, we are still looking for any other volunteers. Anybody that may be interested, feel free to just send them directly to me. I would love to have them by the end of June. That way they can just kind of jump right into reviewing the applications.
Do you still need people for the finance side? Because I may know one or two people that may be interested and they'd be good at that side. Like I have some finance background, but I'd rather be on the other side. But I may know some people that would fit into that category.
That would be amazing. I always need people in finance. If they're like CPA, a banker,
Mhm.
people that have experience reviewing like federal grants that understand financial, I mean, because it's sometimes it's just so hard to like read an audit and be like, what am I looking at right now?
Yeah.
Or kind of like specific things to kind of like pick out. So yeah, anybody that you have in the finance world would be amazing to send my way. And all they will be doing is they can review the application if they want to, but their sole responsibility is really just looking at the financial documentation. And then we'll kind of have like separate one-off meetings with the agencies about their financials if we need to. And so that way, I mean, you all can look at the financials, but we have a whole other committee specifically focused on that as well. But yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay, cool. So I will go ahead and send you all of this information now. And that way you all just kind of have it. And I'll send you the link to sign up to kind of choose which vision council you would like to serve on. And like I said, on there, it'll give you the opportunity to kind of tell me if you have a conflict with any of those agencies on there. And so, yeah. And so I appreciate you all so much for joining me this morning. And again, if you have any other questions as you're going through everything, just feel free to reach out to me. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much. It was so good to see you all.
Bye.
Bye.